Imagine holding a heavy, golden key in the palm of your hand. For 30 years, this key was the most powerful object in Burkina Faso. It didn't just open doors, it opened possibilities. It opened the heavy iron gates of private compounds in the exclusive Ouagadougou 2000 district. It opened the safe deposit boxes in Swiss and French banks, where millions of CFA francs were quietly sleeping. It opened the VIP lounges of airports, where men in silk suits laughed about the poverty of the people they were supposed to lead. For decades, the political elite of this country believed that this key was welded to their hands. They believed that no matter how many coups happened, no matter how many protests erupted in the streets, they would always be the ones holding the keys to the kingdom. They were the untouchables, the architects of a system designed to extract wealth and hide it behind high walls. But this morning, a cold wind blew through the capital. When they reached for their doors, the key didn't turn. The lock had been changed, and standing on the other side of the gate was not a servant bowing down. It was a soldier of the people, holding a piece of paper that weighed more than all their gold combined. That paper was the decree signed by Captain Ibrahim Traoré, and the message it carried was simple, brutal, and final. The party is over. This is not a scene from a movie. This is the new reality that has just crashed down upon the corrupt aristocracy of the Sahel. While the international media is busy debating the legality of dissolving political parties, they are missing the earthquake that is happening underneath the surface. They are missing the money trail. Because what Ibrahim Traoré did on January 29, 2026, was not just a political maneuver. It was the greatest asset seizure in the history of modern Africa. He didn't just tell the corrupt politicians to go home. He told them that they no longer have homes to go to. He didn't just freeze their power. He froze their lifeblood. He took the mansions. He took the fleets of luxury SUVs. He locked the bank accounts. And in doing so, he shattered the illusion that has held this continent captive for 60 years. The illusion that you can get rich by selling your own people. To truly understand the magnitude of this moment, we have to peel back the layers of the industry of politics. For a long time, outsiders looked at Burkina Faso and saw a poor country. They saw dust. They saw struggle. They saw statistics about hunger and lack of electricity. But they were looking at the wrong things. Burkina Faso was never poor. It was plundered. And the plunder didn't just happen by foreign companies taking gold. It happened through a domestic class of gatekeepers. Before this week, there were over 100 political parties in this nation. Ask yourself, why does a country of 20 million people need 100 political parties? Was it because there were 100 different philosophies on how to save the nation? Number. It was because forming a political party was the most profitable business model in West Africa. It was a franchise. If you started a party, you became eligible for funding. You became a person of interest for Western NGOs looking for local partners. You became a broker who could sign contracts. The party was just a shell company for personal enrichment. They built a parallel world. If you drove through the capital, you could see it. On one side of the road, women were walking 5 miles to fetch water because the pumps were broken. On the other side, behind electric fences and armed guards, these politicians were watering their imported grass lawns with filtered water. They imported marble from Italy for their floors, while the schools didn't have chalk for the blackboards. They drove cars that cost more than a village earns in 10 years. And they felt no shame. In fact, they felt entitled to it. They told themselves that they were the elite, the educated ones, the ones who knew how to talk to the white man in Paris and Washington. They believed that their wealth was a reward for their diplomacy. But Ibrahim Traoré, a man forged in the mud and blood of the front lines, looked at them and saw something different. He didn't see diplomats. He saw thieves. He saw men who had turned the suffering of their nation into a credit card. And he decided that the debt had come due. The night the decree was signed will be remembered as the night of the long knives for the wallet. Intelligence reports suggest that the operation was planned with the secrecy of a military ambush. Traoré knew that if he announced his intentions beforehand, the money would fly away. Capital flight is faster than the speed of sound in the digital age. A wire transfer takes seconds. A private jet takes minutes to board. So he waited. He let them feel safe. He let them believe that the dissolution of the parties was just a bureaucratic shuffle, a change of letterhead. But while they were drafting press releases to complain about democracy, Traoré's teams were moving into the banks. They were moving into the land registry offices. They were securing the physical keys to the properties. When the sun rose, the trap snapped shut. Imagine the panic. The phone calls starting at 6 a.m. Why is my card declined? Why is the transfer to Dubai blocked? Why are there soldiers outside the party headquarters? This was the sound of the oxygen being cut off. You see, a puppet cannot dance without strings, but more importantly, a parasite cannot live without a host. By nationalizing the assets of these political structures, Traoré didn't just punish them. He surgically removed them from the body of the nation. He took away the one thing that gave them power, their ability to buy loyalty. Without their stolen millions, they cannot bribe local chiefs. They cannot hire thugs to disrupt protests. They cannot pay journalists to write favorable articles. They are stripped naked, left to face the people they betrayed with nothing but their empty words. And the West is terrified. Watch the news channels in France and the United States over the next few days. Listen closely to their language. They will use words like expropriation, robbery, and violation of property rights. They will try to paint Traoré as a communist bandit who is stealing from private citizens. But this is the great gaslighting of our time. We must ask the question, whose property is it? If a man breaks into your house, steals your television, sells it, and buys a car, and then the police catch him and take the car, is the policeman a thief? Or is he the hand of justice? These mansions were not built with the salaries of public servants. A public servant in Burkina Faso, even a high-ranking one, cannot afford a $5 million villa honestly. These assets are the physical manifestation of corruption. They are the crystallized sweat and tears of the Burkinabe people. When Traoré takes them back, he is not stealing. He is engaging in restitution. He is returning the stolen energy of the country back to its source. The decree states clearly that these assets will be transferred to the state. But let's be specific about what that means. It means the Patriotic Support Fund. This is the genius of the move. It is an alchemical transformation. Traoré is taking the dead capital of the corrupt, the empty rooms, the idle cars, the hoarded cash, and turning it into living weapons. The SUV that was used to drive a mistress to a shopping mall will now be sold to buy night vision goggles for a soldier in the bush. The cash that was meant for a vacation in the French Riviera will now buy fuel for the drones that protect the skies. The headquarters that hosted cocktail parties will be turned into training centers or hospitals. This is how you fund a revolution when the world cuts you off. The West thought they could starve Burkina Faso by cutting aid. They thought that by blocking loans from the World Bank, the country would collapse. But they forgot one thing. The country is rich. The money was just in the wrong hands. Traoré is finding the budget for the war not in foreign loans, but in the pockets of the traitors. But there is a spiritual dimension to this that we cannot ignore. In the traditions of this land, there is a belief that you cannot truly own what you did not earn. There is a cosmic balance, a mat that must be maintained. For too long, that balance was broken. The wicked prospered while the righteous suffered. This created a spiritual sickness in the nation. Young men looked at the corrupt politicians and learned the wrong lesson. They learned that honesty makes you poor and treachery makes you rich. By seizing these assets, Traoré is healing the psyche of the nation. He is sending a shockwave through the timeline. He is teaching the next generation a new lesson. Betrayal has a cost. You can eat the bread of corruption today, but you will vomit it up tomorrow. This is the prophecy of Thomas Sankara coming to life. Sankara famously sold the government's fleet of Mercedes-Benz cars and forced officials to drive the cheapest car available, the Renault 5. He did it to humble them, to remind them that they were servants, not masters. But Sankara was killed before he could finish his work. Traoré is picking up that torch, but he is doing it with the firepower of a modern army and the ruthlessness of a man who knows he is fighting for survival. He is not just asking them to drive cheaper cars. He is taking the keys to the Mercedes and crushing the system that bought it. The reaction from the empire will be fierce. They know that this sets a dangerous precedent. If Burkina Faso succeeds in recovering stolen assets from the political elite, what happens in Ivory Coast? What happens in Senegal? What happens in Nigeria? There are billions of dollars of questionable wealth sitting in the hands of leaders across the continent. If the people realize that this wealth can be taken back, the entire structure of neo-colonialism collapses. The puppet masters in the West rely on these corrupt elites to guard their interests. They rely on their greed. If being a Western puppet no longer guarantees you a mansion and a safe retirement, but instead guarantees you a prison cell and homelessness, who will sign the bad mining contracts? Who will allow the foreign military bases? The incentive structure is being destroyed. Traoré is making it too expensive, too risky to be a traitor. We are watching the panic in Ouagadougou, but the tremors are felt in Paris. They are scrambling to find new leverage. They might try to freeze Burkina Faso's assets abroad in retaliation. But Traoré has already anticipated this. That is why the focus is on internal sovereignty. That is why he is building an economy that relies on its own gold, its own agriculture, and its own people. When you take back the resources within your own borders, the sanctions from the outside matter less. We saw the news yesterday about the 94 tons of gold production. Connect the dots. The gold belongs to the state. The political assets belong to the state. The land belongs to the state. Slowly, brick by brick, the sovereignty that was sold off is being repurchased. But the most beautiful part of this story is not the panic of the rich. It is the reaction of the ordinary man. Walk through the markets of Ouagadougou today. Listen to the conversations in the taxicabs. There is a sense of vindication. For the first time in their lives, the mechanic, the farmer, the market woman feel that the government is on their side. They look at the closed gates of the mansions, and they don't feel envy anymore. They feel justice. They see that the law is not just a spider web that catches the small flies and lets the big hornets break through. They see that the law can be a sword, and that sword is now in the hands of a son of the soil. This brings us to the future. What happens next? The asset seizure is just step one. The cleaning of the house is preparation for the renovation. With these obstacles removed, with the noise of 100 squabbling parties silenced, the country can move with a singular vision. This is the Roadmap 2026 that Traoré spoke about. It is a roadmap to industrialization, not to mechanized agriculture, to a formidable military alliance in the AES. But none of that could be built on a rotten foundation. You cannot build a skyscraper on a swamp. You have to drain the swamp first. The dissolution of the parties and the seizure of their assets is the draining of the swamp. It is the removal of the toxic waste that has poisoned the political soil for 3 generations. So, as we stand here witnessing history, we have a choice to make. We are not just passive observers. The information war is raging. The algorithms of the big tech companies are already trying to suppress this news or spin it as a human rights violation. They want you to feel sorry for the millionaires who lost their homes. They want you to forget the millions of children who never had a home because of the theft. So it is your duty to correct the narrative. It is your duty to be the amplifier of the truth. When you hear someone say Traoré is a dictator, ask them, is it a dictatorship to stop thieves? Is it tyranny to feed the poor with the spoils of the corrupt? Or is it the highest form of democracy, a government that actually acts for the benefit of the majority? The keys have changed hands. The mansions are empty. The bank accounts are frozen. The era of the house Negro, the leader who lives in luxury while his brothers suffer in the field, is over. It is a new day. The sun is shining on a Burkina Faso that owns itself. And for those who are still waiting, still plotting, still hoping that the old masters will return to save them, the message is clear. Do not wait. The train has left the station, and it is powered by the reclaimed wealth of the nation. If you feel the power of this moment, if you feel the justice of this act in your bones, then you must make your voice heard. Do not let this video be just another clip you watch and forget. Engage with it. Leave a mark. Go to the comment section right now and write the phrase that defines this new era. Write, "Give it back." 3 words. A command, a prayer, a declaration. Give it back. Let them know that we are watching. Let them know that we know where the money went, and we celebrate its return. The assets are frozen, but the people are on fire. The game is over for them, but for Africa the game has just begun. Keep your eyes open. The list of names is long, and the revelations are far from finished. We are just getting started.